What is going on, YouTube? We are back. We are here today to talk. Trying a new thing here on the Fumble Pod. Trying something new. We're gonna do a joint episode. We're gonna cover the big games in the NFL and then the big games in college football. We're just gonna join them all in. It's been something I've been thinking on, something I've been wanting to test. So I'm gonna do it this week. See how it goes. See how y'all like it. Let me know how you feel at the end. If you still want it broken up, I'll still break it up. But if you like this kind of join, you touch it on the big stuff, we might roll with it. It's just something I'm trying, something new. Plus, this week's been kind of so I'm trying to do two videos in one. Maybe it works better this way. You know, we're all about adapting, change, and moving on. If you're new here, it's Fumble Pod. I'm your host, Dalton Lee. We're gonna jump just right on into it. We're gonna cover NFL first because we got Thursday night tonight. We're gonna cover the big games there, and then we're gonna go over the big games in college football in the back half of this video. So let's just jump right on in. First off, tonight we got 49ers, Rams. Right now, Rams are opening at 8.5-point favorites. Pretty sure Brock Purdy is not playing tonight, last I saw. So that's going to be a big deal for not only the Rams defense, but the 49ers offense. It's probably going to be Mac Jones playing. Mac Jones didn't look terrible when orchestrating his offense, but I don't think he really played a great defense when he had to make his two starts. And the Rams have a really good defense. I mean, that defense, again, still one of the youngest defenses in the league, but they have looked lights out every game they've played. I would say the only game that really had any type of struggle was the second half against the Eagles about 2 weeks ago. I mean, just looking at it across the board, Rams are healthier. 49ers are struggling with injuries. The 49ers defense has been very up and down. Still been solid, but still kind of fluctuates. Rams are at home. I like the Rams here. They're 8.5-point favorites. I don't know about that. I think 49ers keep it within a touchdown, but the Rams are starting to click on offense consistently, especially with that run game. That run game's opening up for Kyron Williams very well. I think he'll have a decent night. I don't know if he'll have a huge night, but I think he'll have a decent night. But it's going to open up to Puka and Devontae. Stafford just going to be wheeling and dealing all over the place. And if the 49ers get to a situation where they got to throw the ball, it's either going to be a lot of checkdowns or I think it's going to end up with a lot of bad plays, especially because that Rams defensive line with Verse and, I mean, all them young guys, they're going to just be all over the place making plays. So I'm taking the Rams in this one, just outright. I do think the 49ers will cover the 8.5. I think they'll cover it, but I'm taking the Rams outright. Next one I'm going to touch on. I don't know how good this is of a game it's going to be, but I do think, I mean, we are going to see an undefeated team play against a 2-2 Broncos team. A team that, you know, at times the Broncos look like they could be a good team. At times it's like, what are we doing? Especially on the offensive side. Defense has been solid. The offensive side is where things get a little, you know what I mean? But the Eagles' offense really hasn't been super productive outside of one half, really. Two halves. Back half of their comeback against the Rams, and then the first half against the Bucs last week. It's in Philly. It depends on the version of both offenses we get. If the Broncos can come out and establish a run game, kind of like they did against the Bengals on Monday night last week, and open up things in the air for Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, guys like that, this could be a really interesting game because it is a great Eagles defense, but they've shown that they can be prone to consistent plays, if that's the way to word it. Just if you're on offense and you're able to be on schedule with your downs and distance, the Eagles have been struggling with keeping up with that. Longer play drives have kind of killed them. Granted, you can say that about a lot of defenses, but if you can't get the Eagles defense to a point where it's third and long, they know you're going to pass it, and they can send their guys, you're in a bad spot. If it's third and one, that defense is having to guess. Could be a pass, could be a run, could be RPO, could be something fancy. they haven't been as dominant in those situations, and they're kind of dealing with some injuries, especially at depth on that D line. So if you can get them tired quick, you got a very good shot. And this Broncos defense is good enough that they can keep the Eagles offense in check a little bit. They haven't ran the ball super consistent. They're dealing with some injuries on the offensive line. And just something with Jalen, obviously Jalen, AJ, but Jalen, Devontae, they haven't all been able to get the air game really going consistently. And it's a huge concern for a team that honestly, the reason why they won the Super Bowl was because of their defense. And their passing attack was really good against the Chiefs. And I understand they've built this team to be run first, and that's not really working. But they're not being super consistent in the passing game. AJ Brown and Devontae have only had close to 100-yard game each, both in the same game, and it was just because they had to come back against the Rams. Outside of that, they haven't really done a whole lot through the air. It's just kind of been grinding out tough yards, getting the couple first downs they need, and then being able to score. And a lot of it's also been the defense. Eventually, that defense is going to have a tough game. In this game, I kind of look at that Eagles defense might have a tough game just because the Broncos are really balanced on offense. So if they can get worn out, Broncos can put up some points. The Eagles, I think, if they can't be consistent in the pass game, it's going to be a tough game. It's still going to be hard for me to pick against the Eagles just because I like their roster better. But, I mean, Vegas is thinking the same thing. It's only 3.5, mainly because they're at home. I'm still going to take the Eagles here, but it really wouldn't shock me if the Broncos are able to go in and if they can play anything like they did against the Chargers a couple weeks ago, they can go in and beat the Eagles no problem. But I'm just going to roll with the Eagles just because they're the more consistent, not more consistent, but they have more top end talent. But I think the Broncos have been a little more consistent with their play, so to speak, even though it hasn't been as high end as the Eagles. Next, we got two quarterbacks that were in the same draft class, 2017 draft class. No, 2018. 2018, because 2017 was Myles Garrett, I believe. Right? Yes. Yeah, former number 1 pick, Baker Mayfield, going to Seattle, play former number 3 overall pick, Sam Darnold. Both spent time together in Carolina, played against each other. And actually, Baker made his debut playing against the Jets. When he had come in for an injured Tyrod Taylor, led him to a comeback to win that game. Both have a resurgences in their career. Baker's been cooking in Tampa the last couple years. Sam Darnold had a good season last year in Minnesota. He's actually off to a pretty good start this year too. This is going to be a really entertaining game. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think both are going to come out ready to light up the scoreboard. Both have weapons. Even though both have somewhat solid defenses, both teams are really going to try to assert their will offensively. Seattle's going to try to establish a run game, while Baker's probably going to be early passing and often, just because the run game can be a little inconsistent. So I think they're going to try and rely on Chris Godwin, Emeka, Bucky out of the backfield catching passes. And in the short yardage, that's when they'll go to Bucky and Rachaad White. Right now, Seattle's the favorite. I really can see this game going either way. I think both teams are really good. I'm more worried about the Seahawks secondary right now. I mean, they have been able to get picked apart at times, especially against better offenses. And honestly, just with the gut feeling I have, I think the Bucs had a really good shot of winning last week. I think it's just because they got off to a slow start and they're going to emphasize having faster starts than that. I'm going to roll with the Bucs in this one. I like the Seahawks. I like a lot what they got going on. But the Buccaneers, it's just something about Baker, man. He's showing he's got a different gear in his mind right now. And I honestly like what I'm seeing out of the Buccaneers. I'm going to roll with the Bucs in that one. I think, Sam's got a good chance of maybe seeing a ghost or two out there. If you know, you know. The other 4 o'clock game, this is, I think, the only 4 o'clock game I'm really going to talk about, is Commanders-Chargers. Chargers coming off a tough loss against Giants. Commanders coming off of a loss to the Falcons. But the Commanders are getting Jaden Daniels back, I do believe. I believe he was a full participant yesterday. I think he was a full participant at practice today, so I think he's going to play. And if that's the case, it's going to be a really good game. We're going to have two really good quarterbacks going at each other. Chargers are dealing with a lot of injuries, especially on offense. So the Commanders are going to try to attack that because it's mainly the offensive line that's dealing with these injuries. If they can get Justin early, get him rattled early, they're going to have a good shot in this. The Chargers, because of the offensive line injuries, haven't been able to run the ball super, super well as of late. But I don't really trust that Commanders' defensive line to hold up against the run game. So if they can get the ball rolling with Amarion Hampton early, take some pressure off of Justin, it could be a tight grind out game, or it could be in the upper 20s, low 30s type of game. Jaden Daniels should have a decent amount of time to throw the ball because I believe Khalil Mack's still out. The only issue is that secondary is a very good secondary. You got Derwin that they like to blitz a lot. You got, I'd love to name the corners, but I can't because it's just a bunch of random guys they throw out there, but they've just been really good as a unit. It's gonna be a lot of chess and checkers. I would love to say it comes to the Jimmies and Joes, but I really think it's gonna come to the X and O's in this. Who's gonna outcoach who? Even though you got two really good coaches, you got Jim Harbaugh going against Dan Quinn. I'm gonna roll with the Chargers in this one. I just think they're gonna find a way to win this at home, but I think it's gonna be close. I mean, 2.5 point spread. I think Chargers will cover that, win by a field goal at least. But I think it's going to be a really entertaining 4 o'clock window game for sure. And then we get into Sunday night. You got 2-2 Patriots coming off of a steamroll win against the Panthers. And we got the other undefeated team in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills. Right now, Buffalo's favored 7.5 in Buffalo. Sunday night. Josh Allen, that offense has been on tear. They're also really balanced. James Cook's been good. Josh Allen's been good. Playmakers outside of the tight end position with Kincaid and Knox have been a little suspect. Haven't had a consistent game, whether it's been out of Keon Coleman or Khalil Shakir. They've been kind of up and down. And the Patriots are coming off of a confidence builder. Drake May looked good last week. They were able to run the ball pretty well. They got a couple guys who can make plays on the outside. And that Bills defense is probably the worst that Josh has played with. But you're going against a former MVP here. You're going against a running back who I would argue is sneaking his way into the top 5. Just off of pure talent, both running and catching the ball. I think the Bills just have straight up more better talent. I'm going to roll with the Bills here. I think they covered a 7.5. I don't think the Patriots are at that level yet to be consistently competing with the Bills, but they're trending in the right direction. Plus, this is a revenge game for Stephon Diggs. So I wouldn't be shocked if they try to go to him early and often just to get him into the game. Could be good for fantasy owners. Could be a good confidence builder. I mean, even if Patriots lose this game, but it's by a field goal, you can't hang your head super low because you're like, okay, we're not that far from, former MVP Josh Allen and a team that's won a division the last 3-4 years now. That'd be a good confidence boost, even though you'd hate to lose. Just to be like, hey, we can compete with these guys. But I don't think they're going to be able to compete enough to win. I'm going with the Bills in this one. And then the Monday night matchup, we got the 2-2 Chiefs coming off of a big win against the Ravens and the 3-1 Jacksonville Jaguars, who just beat the 49ers. This, I fear, could be a snooze fest. Just a bit. Just because I know the Chiefs' offense looked good last week. The question is now, can they do it 2 weeks in a row with this team? In Jacksonville, Trayvon Walker just got surgery on his wrist. He's listed as day-to-day. I don't know his availability for that game. But that Jacksonville defense is still feisty. They have shown that they can run the ball pretty consistent now. with ETN in the backfield. Trevor Lawrence looks like he's kind of cleaned up his mechanics, has been a little more efficient. They were able to get Brian Thomas included in the game plan last week. So maybe they can try and attack that and go with that into the Chiefs game. It's in Jacksonville. The Chiefs are favored, and I don't blame them just because it is still Patrick Mahomes. It's still Steve Spagnuolo's defense, who played really well against the Chiefs. It has really been the only thing that has been consistently good this year. I'm actually kind of torn. I am going to roll with the Chiefs here, only because I do trust Patrick Mahomes to make more plays than Trevor Lawrence. Plus, if Xavier Worthy's healthy, they at least have somebody who can stretch the field consistently and make plays. Maybe be able to open it up for Travis Kelce. Maybe Pacheco can get going a little bit. I'm just really worried about that Chiefs offensive line and, what kind of Patrick Mahomes we're going to get. If we're going to get the Patrick Mahomes from last week, it could get ugly really quick. Not saying the Jags are bad. It's just, I don't know if they're necessarily ready to play a full 60 minutes against Patrick Mahomes we saw last week. It's either going to be a blowout or it's going to be a close, grind out kind of ugly game. But I'm going to roll with the Chiefs in it. And that's really all I got. I would love to say, the Panthers have a chance against Dolphins. The sports books say they do, but in my heart, I really don't believe it. But if you wanted my 2 cents, I do think Miami's going to win that game by a field goal. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game, but it's going to be a football game. Not kind you like to see, though. Now, we're going to transition over to college football. All right. First one I want to talk about, not because it's a great matchup by any means, but just because of the sheer fact that there's a lot of storylines in this game. We got Clemson, unranked, going to Chapel Hill to play unranked UNC. Clemson's favored by 14.5, even though they're 1-3, going to a 2-2 UNC. We're going to start with the storylines and then talk football. So, right now, I would say both the coaches are not on the hot seat, but their seats are they're a little warm. You know what I mean? Dabo has not been super great in the press lately, talking about the struggles they're going through. Almost talking like, his job's on the line, that, if he gets fired, they're going to regret it. Even though nobody has really said to fire Dabo. At least that I've seen, nobody has said anything about firing Dabo. But you can tell the pressure's starting to get to him. And this is going to be a big game to, show, can they at least ride the ship and be somewhat competent as a football team? And over on the Carolina side, you put a lot of chips on the table for Bill Belichick, and you're sitting at a 2-2 record that's really not that good because A, you're only 500. B, your 2 wins are against opponents you should have beat regardless who was coaching. And you're starting to feel like a lot of people are like, is Belichick really going to be able to turn this school into a quote-unquote football program? And as of right now, I would say no. Just because, he specializes in defense. Defense really hasn't been spectacular, per se. Didn't look great against UCF. Obviously didn't look great against TCU. And then the offense, the offense can't really do much. Can't really run the ball. If you throw the ball, they're only throwing it to the left side of the field. Looks like it's the only side that Gio is competent in. I don't know if Gio's going to play. If it's Max Johnson, he's looked like he can make the offense a little more consistent, but he's still not that great. Especially against Clemson defense that is talented, hasn't been super productive, but has been the main reason that Clemson has been in a decent bit of games outside of first half against Troy and the key, basically majority of the Syracuse game until Ricky Collins came in. I still don't see a world where Clemson loses to UNC. I still think Clemson has more talent. They should be able to just say talent, push it in the middle, and beat them. 14.5 is a lot, only because that offense hasn't been super great. Can't really run the ball. They do still got Wesco and Antonio Williams, who are both dogs. And Klubnik's okay. He hasn't been great. He's been okay this year. But I do still trust the Clemson brand over UNC at this point, even though neither are really great. I wasn't really talking about this matchup because they're great. It's just more so the fact of whose job is going to be on the line more after it. And I think the losing coach is going to have a tough day at the presser after that. Now let's talk some real football games, okay? We got number 9 ranked Texas going to the Swamp. I'm surprised we're really talking about Florida, but the only reason we're talking about Florida in this is because this is going to be Arch Manning's first start in SEC play on the road. Now is when I think Arch has to prove that he can be a good quarterback. Not saying he's got to play like a Heisman today. I'm sure a lot of people would be ecstatic if he did. But yeah, he's just got to show that Ohio State was just strictly nerves, first game, overthinking. Maybe now he's more settled in. The offense is kind of flowing. He looked better last week against Sam Houston. He looked more consistent. Passes were not as short. He was able to hit guys in stride. He actually had a pretty efficient day, had a good day. But again, that's Sam Houston, so we can only take it with a grain of salt. And this Florida defense is really good. Right now, they're only favoring Texas 4.5. And I know it's mainly because of that offense, because that Texas defense is phenomenal. I mean, is a top 5 defense in college football. But Florida's really not that far behind them. That Florida defense has been good. Like, they're 1-3, but if they had, kind of like Texas, a more consistent offense, Florida could easily be 2-2, 3-1. I mean, that defense has kept them in more games than we could imagine. Kept them in the LSU game, kept them in the USF game. I mean, even the Miami game. I understand they lost by double digits, but a lot of that game was one offensive drive away from being tied or really close. I'm just saying, this Florida defense is good. It's going to be a good test for Arch. But if Arch can play anything close to what he did last week, it's going to be Texas by a million. Because that defense is not going to give Lagway anything. They're not going to be able to run the ball. Lagway is going to be panicking in the pocket and might look close to what he did against LSU. I'm not saying he's going to throw 5 picks, but it could get ugly offensively like that game. So I'm still going to roll with Texas in this, even though I am still questioning what Arch is going to look like going into this for sure. But if Arch, is starting to get more comfortable, sky's the limit, really. I think he still can be a very good quarterback. He's got weapons. He's got the weapons to do it. So I'm interested in that. Then we roll into the other 3:30 game. Because Texas, Florida's at 3:30. This game's also at 3:30. You got number 16 Vanderbilt going to Tuscaloosa to play number 10 Alabama. Bama coming off a big win against Georgia in Athens. Vanderbilt, undefeated. Vanderbilt beat Bama last year after they beat Georgia. So same time of year, same schedule, the whole 9. This is what we like to refer to as a trap game. Trap game. Because you got one team coming off of a very big, very emotional win last week. Bama going in Georgia, breaking a streak of 33 straight. They're on their high horse. They're ready to roll, get to the playoff. And you got Vanderbilt going, yeah, we beat these guys last year, but why don't we do it 2 times? 2 times in a row. I almost do feel like more of the weight is on Alabama's shoulders because they're coming off a big win. They're like, we can't lose this game again like you did last year. Not only did they lose it, I mean, they lost by 2 scores. Granted, it was in Vandy, but lost by 2 scores. And Vanderbilt's been playing some solid football. But Ty Simpson's been playing some really good football. Ryan Williams is in a groove. That defense has looked really good. The offense has gotten a little more creative. They were able to run the ball a little bit against Georgia. And what did it lead to? It led Ty Simpson being able to air it out, run the ball himself, just making plays, being a grind out guy, honestly. Right now it's a 10.5 point spread. Bama's favorited. And I understand why Bama's favorited. They just beat number 5 Georgia in Athens. And I'd have to agree. I do think Alabama's going to win this football game. If they play anything like they did against Georgia last week, they probably will cover the 10.5. But I do think Vanderbilt will keep it close. I think Vanderbilt has improved since last year. And I think they'll keep it close, but I am going to roll with Alabama. I think Bama is going to be looking to keep a foot on the neck and just try and end them. So I'm taking the over in that game. But I do think it's going to be a really good game. Next, I want to talk about big ACC matchup. You got number 3 Miami and number 18 Florida State. Florida State's coming off of a shocking and somewhat ugly loss to Virginia last week on Friday night on the road. Field storm, the whole 9. They're trying to bounce back. They're trying to show that, we overlooked them because we were getting ready for this game. Well, you better look like you're ready for this game, because if you turn around and lose this game too, especially if it gets ugly, were you even that good? Were you really ready, or did you just catch Alabama sleeping early? Because Alabama's improved. These are the questions that we're starting to have. And the questions will only become bigger and asked more often, depending on how the rest of the season goes. Miami's undefeated, number 3 in the country. They've looked very, very good coming out of break. I mean, they beat Notre Dame week 1. They beat Florida, who has a really good defense. They've just been lights out on both sides of the ball. I do think that even though it's in Tuscaloosa and Miami is the better team, I feel like this game's actually going to be really close. Just because that Florida State defense is still solid. And the offense can put up points. But the question is Castellanos ready to be that guy and make more plays than this Miami offense? Is he ready to be able to go against probably the best defense he's faced all year? I mean, Ruben Bain, phenomenal defensive end. He's playing his way into a top 10 lottery pick in the NFL draft. I would think Florida State's going to come out with a fire lit under them, be ready to roll, be ready to just get after them. And I think they will. But I do think they're going to fall just short. I do think Miami just has more talent, have more continuity, and they're more gelled. Whereas Florida State is kind of rattled, coming off of a tough loss. I think they're going to get hit with another one. And then we get to the point where it's a 2-loss Florida State team. It's going to be very tough to even make an ACC championship appearance. And it's going to be tough to make the playoff. You would have to win out and hope one of these other ACC teams just has a complete blow up. Even have a hope, have a chance. But I do think Miami's going to win this game. Right now they're favored 4.5. I think they're going to cover that. I think they're going to win by more than 4. They'll probably win by a touchdown at least. It's just, I hope it's a good game. I hope Florida State's ready to play. But I do worry that even though their defense has been good, I don't know if they're ready to go against an offense that is this balanced with a veteran level quarterback play at the college level. It's a big deal. So I'm excited to watch that. I'm going to touch briefly on this one. It's 10:30 kickoff p.m. 9 a.m. p.m. Duke on a 2-game winning streak, flying out to California to go play Cal. And right now, Duke's only favored 2.5. I am actually really excited to watch this game. Obviously, because it is my football team, my favorite football team. But to also watch this Cal quarterback, this guy has been pretty good all year. This guy's been slinging a rock all over the place. Their only loss has been to San Diego State, which is probably the best team they've played, and it was 34-0. But this quarterback, man, I wish I knew how to pronounce his name. I'm gonna attempt it. It's Jaron Kiwa Sagapoloti. He is Samoan from Hawaii. I probably butchered that, but I don't mean to. Not especially not in a disrespectful way, because I got a lot of respect for this guy. He is the reason why, like, Pac-12 after dark, that doesn't really exist anymore. He's the reason why you can't go to bed early, because this guy will light up a scoreboard. He's got decent weapons to do so. But a lot of those wins have come against worser opponents. Worser's not a word. Just overall worse opponents. I mean, their wins are Oregon State, Texas. Was that Texas South? Texas Southern? Yeah, Texas Southern and Minnesota and Boston College. Those are their 4 wins, which aren't necessarily great teams. I feel like Duke has definitely played the tougher schedule of the two up to this point, and the Duke offense has looked a lot more efficient consistently compared to Cal. I think the real question is going to be whose defense can make more plays. If Duke's defense plays anything like they have over the last 2 weeks, first 2 games didn't have a turnover. First 3 didn't have a turnover. Last 2 they've had 7 total turnovers in 2 games, and they're not turning the ball over on offense. They're being super efficient. They're capitalizing off of turnovers. I hope they can establish a run similar to what they did against Syracuse, because if they can, this game could get wide open real quick, because the passing game is there. Darian Mensah has started the last couple weeks looking like a $4 million quarterback. And if he can keep it up and have help from his defense consistently, I think they're going to win the game. But I'm picking Duke to win the game. But Cal's going to be a sneaky opponent, just because that offense, I feel like in a heartbeat, can just go put points up. I'm not excited for a 10:30 p.m. kickoff, but I think it's going to be a really good watch. I really do. And that's all I got for you today. Let me know if you like the hybrid video. We're still hitting about the same time that we normally would for the separate ones, so let me know what you think. Maybe if you like it better condensed, because you got a little bit of a longer drive, you're able to hit 2 sorts of topics. I don't know. I just been thinking about trying it this way and seeing how it works. If you're new, hit the subscribe, hit the notifications, let you know when we post over here. Leave a like, leave a comment. If there was a game that you wanted me to talk about, or if you want to start a discourse in the comment section, talk about something I said. Maybe you don't necessarily agree or disagree with something I said. Throw them down below. More than happy to have a conversation. But until next time, deuces.